If you don't use it, you're gonna lose it. Welcome to the Superpilotish channel. My name's Graham Wilson, and today in my basement, I'm gonna be doing a little bit of flight planning using the E6B computer, using high-tech maps, and I'm gonna see if I can remember how to do this. I haven't done it in a while, and oh, hey Dan, I see you in here. So I was trying to figure out I have to do a little bit of navigation with one of my students here, and I haven't really done it in a while. So I figured I'd jog my memory and make a show out of it. In the olden days, before there was little computers and little ForeFlight and tablets and things like that, and all these computer things to just say, "Hey, I want to go here," and then it spits out a bunch of information at you and says, "Okay, fly this altitude and heading." Well, okay, cool, easy. Thanks, computer. But in the old days, you used to have to calculate using maps, and a lot of this navigation stuff that was used back then, and still today, we teach the fundamentals of it, and then we throw it out, only to be used in emergency or something. I guess your batteries fail on your iPad, but yeah. So I kind of this I was thinking about doing a show about this too, because I went to the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio, a little while ago, and on it was Franklin D. Roosevelt's airplane. That was kind of like the first official presidential plane, Air Force One. And I remember I was looking at, they had an actual little table there, and it was a navigator's station. So this is like 1944, 1945. And oh, hey, Al. So I was like, okay, I'll get out my own little flight bag here. Bought it for $4 in 2002, still kicking. And yeah, on the there was some little things like this to plot your course and stuff. Now I have my super high-tech ruler here with electrical tape on one side and speed tape on the other, tinfoil tape. I'll explain why later. And then yeah, so they had one of these bad boys, the E6B calculator. So this is basically, it's a slide rule that was invented, I don't know, a while ago. And yeah, a little slide rule, but it's a circular slide rule. So back in the day, they could make all these navigation calculations. Okay, and then when we are doing this type of navigating, I made up. I was trying to think. I didn't have any old navigation sheets lying around, so I just kind of looked in the old flight training manual here, and there was an example flight planning form. So it's got a bunch of information on there that you would use, and you would have something like that in the airplane, and that would help you find out. Well, I guess I don't know. Well, it would help you plan your flight. So yeah, we got that, and then so it's like that's hard to see, so I kind of put it on the old whiteboard, all these little things we got to calculate, and you would calculate this for each leg of your trip. So maybe you would fly from Windsor to, I don't know, someplace north of Toronto, and then Toronto to Ottawa, or wherever you're flying. The plane that was the original first Air Force One, they had extra fuel tanks put on it so they could go coast to coast. So they would actually use they would use like one of these things to go like, okay, we're going to fly from New York to Columbus, Ohio, and then we're going to hang a left to go around the weather, and then we're going to go down to I don't know, Albuquerque, and then to Los Angeles or something like that. Okay, let's figure it out. And then they'd hop in the plane and away they go. And which is pretty amazing that they could do that back then. So I'm going to plan a trip today, just to jog my own memory, a theoretical trip from, I don't know if you can see that, CYEL to CYSB. So that's Elliott Lake Airport to Sudbury Airport, and that's up just on the northern, kind of north of Lake Huron, I guess you would call it. And what do I need here? I need my pencil. Can't navigate without a pencil. There we go. Got my navigation pencil. If I make a mistake, I got my extra rubber. Remember when you were a kid? I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, like in grade 2, it's like you'd be erasing something and we just call it a rubber. Be like, Miss, my rubber broke. I need another one. It's kind of funny. But good days back in grade 2. Actually, my grade 2 teacher was a bitch, so I'm kind of happy I'm not in there. Okay, so yeah. So the reason I got this cool speed tape, aluminum tape on the back there, and this electrical tape here is because there's a scale on here. Oh, hey, Shecky. And this is read in nautical miles. You can see that, nautical miles. So that's what the all the all the aviation charts are marked in nautical miles. So nautical, and what's the difference between a nautical mile and a statute mile? Nautical mile is each little minute of latitude is 1 nautical mile. So they just figured out, they divided up all the parallels of latitude and chopped them all up, and 60 of these is 1 degree and 60 of these is 1 degree, and then it just works out for the whole globe. So, yeah, that's what that is. And then, yeah, so the reason I put the tape on there is because if you're doing a flight test and they make you, like Transport Canada, and I'm pretty sure in the FAA, they do the same sneaky trick, is that they'll give you something, and like on the other side here, there's statute miles, but your map isn't nautical. So they'll say, okay, what's the distance between here and here? And then you put it in there and you're not paying attention, and you measure it in statute miles and you go, oh yeah, okay, it's 40 statute miles. And it's like, oh, there's the correct answer there. And it's not like, so it's in nautical. They'll give you the statute miles answer just to trip you up, just to see if you use the proper side of your ruler. And statute miles is never used in aviation, except for in the United States, where their control zones are in statute miles, not nautical miles, like in Canada. It's kind of a weird thing. Oh, hey, Dustin, welcome to the show. So first thing we got to do is plot our little track here. We're gonna ignore the climbing and approach phases where there's different speeds, just for ease. Oh yeah, there's the Sudbury Airport way over here. The Sudbury Airport is so far out of town. It's probably like the mayor's uncle or something owned the land, and then they just kind of sold it to the city. Yeah, a lot of these airports in the old days, they would it'd be some corrupt kind of thing when they're putting in the airport, and it would be some dude, they they overpay like crazy for some crappy farmland or something, and then someone makes off like a bandit. Okay, here we go. Sudbury Airport or Elliott Lake to Sudbury Airport. And then, so this has the markings on there. How far is that? That is 75 nautical miles. There we go. Figure that out. Probably got to write that down somewhere here. Okay, 75. Yeah, that's one of these things when you're doing all this old school navigation stuff. Okay, so eventually I'll have the distance on here. Oh, distance right here, 75 miles. Okay, so we're gonna go kind of basically like this. Distance is 75 nautical miles that we're going here. And so we'll kind of go over, start left to right. And altitude. What altitude should I be flying here? Now, because it's a VFR flight, you fly at you fly at a certain thousands plus 500, depending on whether you're going east or west. That way you can have people going separated by 1,000 feet either way. So you always think about the people out east are really odd here in in Canada. Those fun newfies there. So you got those odd Easterners. So okay, so it's odd number plus 500. So we'll say we're gonna fly 5,500 feet. That should clear all my obstacles. Okay, and then I got to figure out this other stuff you'd figure out from your owner's manual or the POH or whatever, operator's handbook. So let's, and then there's other little weird calculations that you can get in there too. I'll pull them out of my head. So here we go. We're saying our indicated airspeed's gonna be, oh, I don't know, say 90 knots or something. Maybe it just happens to be that our true airspeed is 90 knots too. Okay, here we go. So we just magically figured that out, but you'd have to figure it out a little bit more, especially if you're flying like Air Force One, where you could be at a really high altitude, and there's a big difference between your indicated airspeed on your airspeed indicator and your actual true airspeed going through the air. So the next thing we would figure out here is our track. So this would be our true track. And so, like, where are we going over the ground? And that's where you get this little compass thing here. So this is it's got like a little north up here, and you would align. Can you see that? There's some lines up and down, back and forth, and you align that pretty much right in the middle of your line that I drew, in line with a line of longitude. Boy, it's almost like I've done this before or something. Oop. And then you realize that you got it upside down, so you got to flip it over the correct way. North goes that way. Okay, here we go. And we got our track will be 073. Okay, so 73 degrees. And then you got to have track is 73 degrees. Okay, put that there. Now this next thing that we got to do, the WV, that stands for wind, direction, and velocity. So I did a quick little look up there. Ideally, you would check your upper winds that I would be flying at 5,500 feet. And it's surprising that when the you can say what you want about climate models and things like that, but the upper winds that that are forecast by here in Canada, it's Environment Canada. They sell it to Nav Canada. The United States U.S. Weather Service, I forget what it is there, but every country out there has their own weather service. And I got a buddy of mine that works at Environment Canada, and he does that type of stuff. And he said that it's really amazing how the upper winds are forecast. You know, they'll put a balloon up there, and it goes way up, and it doesn't get shot down, and then it sends all this data back, and they plot this all over the world, and they crunch it into like a supercomputers here and there. There's a big one in Toronto here. Used to be a crazy supercomputer. I don't know what they use now, but they're really accurate. And every time I've gone flying, the higher up you go, the more accurate it gets. And oh yeah, here we go. Jim's here too. Yeah, I think the NOAA, that's the National Oceanographic Association. I forget what that is. Oceanic and Airspace. I've checked it out before. Okay, and Wrench, I see in here too. Okay, so we got that, and I checked it out. Our wind was basically, and winds are always true. So no matter where you are, you hear someone says the wind is this, it's based on true, not magnetic heading. So the winds, they were about 320 degrees at 15 knots. Okay, now this is where we're going to figure out our crazy E6B thing. What do we got here? And it's like, I always forget, but the cool thing about it is that on the back of this here, when you're figuring out your heading and stuff, it's got the directions right there. So if you forget, which I always do because it's a while since I go from one to another, usually you have the student do all that stuff and you go, oh yeah, looks pretty good. But okay, so what we have to do is now we get our pencil. All right, and we're going to figure out our true heading here next. So you figure that depending on where the wind is hitting your airplane, there could be like a little bit of like a crosswind pushing you off track, and you got to figure out how to counteract for all that stuff. Or it could be the same as if you're in a boat and you're counteracting drift from a current or something like that. Okay. So it says here, set wind direction opposite true index. Okay, true index. Okay, I can see that. Right there it says true index. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, wind direction opposite true index. So our wind direction is 320. And this little guy here swivels. You can see that. Okay, 320. Okay. I don't know what to do next. Good thing there's the directions. Okay. Mark W, wind dot up from G grommet. Okay. So there's a little dot in the middle here that they call that a grommet, and our wind speed dot. So our wind speed, I said it was 15 knots. So yeah, we'll go down here. Yeah, we'll say it's 15. And you make a little X. What do we got here? 130, 140. Okay, about here. Okay, make a little X there with your pencil. What do I got to do next? I don't know. Okay, place true course under true index. Okay, so my true course that I figured out on here, that was 73 degrees. So now, I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to go rotate this to 73. And the little X that I made here that's 15 knots up from the grommet, we're going to go to 73. Where we go here? So that's going to move on us, right? You see how that's moving? And we'll put it right over to 73. Okay, that's what they told me to do. So now my dot moved from at the top to somewhere over here. So you can see I have a bit of a crosswind, sort of component, maybe a bit of a tailwind too. Okay, but we'll just keep doing our little instructions here. Slide true airspeed under the wind dot. Okay, my true airspeed, we figured that out before it was 90. So I'm going to match this little dot here, and there's little lines going across 90. Okay, 90 knots. Where's that? Oh, it's way down here. Okay. And it says read ground speed under G, grommet. Okay. So you can see that there's just a touch of a, well, maybe you can't, but there's a little bit of a tailwind component there. And so my new, what do they call it? True airspeed. Okay, the ground speed would be 95 knots. So I got like about a 5 knot tailwind. That's good. And I think I got to mark that down now. Yeah. So that's our ground speed. I got that on my little planning chart over here. Ground speed. So our ground speed is actually going to be 95. Cool. We're going to get there a little bit faster. And what's the next thing I got to do here? I don't know. I forget. I love this. I love these directions. It's saved my butt lots. Okay, read WCA, wind correction angle under W. Wind dot. Wind correction angle, 10 degrees. Okay, and complete problem by use of formula. Oh, yeah. And then they even have like the little formula on the bottom here. All these little guys here on the bottom. True course, wind correction angle, blah, blah, blah. But I got that on my little planning form here. So the wind is from the left. So what do we got? So my true heading would be 10 degrees, 63 degrees. Okay, there we go. So to counteract the wind blowing me to the side, I have to turn the nose of my airplane in 10 degrees, and then I'll track along my line that I drew. So there we go. That's what you figure out with this little handy dandy little guy. But wait, there's more. It's exciting stuff. I'm glad I remember this. Okay, so the next thing we got to figure out is variation. So there's a difference between true and magnetic headings and stuff like that. And that is marked off on your map. So on your chart, there'll be just different marks. You know how you always hear about the poles are shifting and stuff like that. Well, that's true. That's got to do with, you know, the magma in the earth. And it So the North Pole is always kind of moving around a little bit with the magma, and so that way the difference between true and magnetic is going to change too. So we usually find there's these lines of variation that go up and down the map. Okay. We'll say we'll use this one here. Where's that going? It should have like a little number on it. Where's that number? Oh, there we go. 10 degrees west. Okay. So our variation is 10 west. Now, what's the little saying there? West is best, east is least. So that means west is best. So that's positive. So I have to add that to my heading over here. So we're back to 73 degrees. Magnetic heading would be 73 degrees. There we go. Almost there, but now we got to figure out what's our ground speed. We got our ground speed. We know our distance, right? So remember that that whole little velocity equals, what is it, distance over time kind of thing. But we're going to use our little calculator for that one. Okay, and so what you do on this guy here, I just remember this one. So we got a little pointer. Okay, there's this little pointer guy here. It moves around. And so you can use this pointer to figure out any something per something. Miles per hour, nautical miles per hour. That would be knots. And then kilometers per hour, beers per hour. Actually, we used to do that after school. We went down and, how long have we been here in the pub? And like, because us aviation nerds, we'd have one of these. It's a smaller version of it. We'd all have them in our pockets or have them there. And it's like, oh, geez, we had, okay, I had 3 beers in how many minutes has it been? And we'd all get out and calculate. Okay, I've had 0.75 beer, 1.3 beers per hour. Okay, that was kind of a fun thing to do. Okay, so ground speed, 95 nautical miles per hour. So I'll put my little pointer under here where there's a 95 on the outside. That's my ground speed. Distance, 75 miles. So I always think about this thing is you're thinking about miles per hour, kilometers per hour, beers per hour, whatever that is. So the outside ring would be distance 75. Okay, and then right across from there is the time would be 48 minutes, I guess. Sounds about right. So mark that down here. Time. There we go. 48 minutes. And so how much fuel would be required for that? I don't know. So we'll say that would be, okay, you could do the super calculation on that, but whenever you're calculating fuel, you should always kind of like, okay, you kind of give it, okay, that's like, guess it's something point whatever, and then I just round it up so that whatever's higher. So we'll say your plane burns 6 gallons per hour, 48 minutes. Let's call it an hour. My calculations might be wrong, so just to be safe, we're gonna have 6 gallons. And then you can figure out how much it weighs, and there's a lot more calculations that go into it there. But for now, I am quite happy that I filled out most of my planning here, and I jogged my memory. So next time I go, when I tell my student how to do this stuff, it'll be, oh, piece of cake. I know exactly what I'm doing because I just did it on the superpilotish channel. Very cool. And yeah, and you'd be usually a little briefing like this when we're figuring out how to plan a cross-country trip and putting in our little lines from where we here. Up here is it's Elliott Lake over here, and Sudbury's over here. Yeah, Manitoulin Island is this little land under here. That's Manitoulin Island, which is actually and anyone from Manitoulin Island will tell you that it is the largest freshwater island in the world. Yep. Okay, very cool. All right, good old Manitoulin Island. I was thinking about moving to Manitoulin Island once because it's just kind of a cool place. There's like nothing there. I got a couple Indian reserves that are doing all right, and yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of a cool place. It's kind of like not too many people around, and it seems to me like Manitoulin Island would be like where I live here, but like in the 1940s or something like that, 1930s, before everyone showed up, and like me. So okay, yeah, there we go. Thanks for indulging me in in my planning here today. And oh, hey, Corey. Yeah, I'll go see if there's any questions here, and uh, I don't know. There might be, might not be. Well, you know what? Here we go. I am going to do. Okay, here we go. We do have some questions here. All right. Okay. Okay. So here we go. What's the distance difference? I think a nautical mile is longer. Yeah, a nautical mile is 1.15 statute miles. So there we go. Oh, actually, yeah. And I'll just put that there. Okay, I'm wrong. 1.1508. There we go. Yeah, I always I just kind of know that because everyone was always asking if I was taking people up for a sightseeing flight. They'd say, "How fast are we going?" And if I said, "Oh, we're going this many knots," you kind of see them kind of glaze over. But if you say, "Oh, going about 100 miles per hour," oh wow, that's pretty fast, something like that. And or if you want to make it sound really cool, 160 kilometers an hour. Whoa! Actually, there's a lot of guys. I know there's this one old guy. He's got this airplane. He built it himself. Really nice plane. But he always, whenever you ask him, I guess when he learned how to fly way back in the day, they didn't use knots or nautical miles. They'd have like a statute, like miles per hour in the older airplanes. They didn't really switch over to knots until, oh, I don't know, mid 70s. So this guy, when he built his plane, he's got this speedy, what is it, a Vans RV6, I think. Anyways, one of those home built jobs, and yeah, he always likes to say that he cruises at 140 miles per hour. So it's actually, but it sounds like you're going faster. Oh, and here we go. I am going to. Oh, Nefarious Johnson's here too. I missed you popping in. I'm going to do a Google search right now. Being the good, diligent flight instructor that I am, what does the NOAA stand for? So, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. There you go. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. So, yeah, they're the ones that do all the weather stuff. And so that's oh yeah, oh, Jim had it here too. Why do I even bother googling this stuff? You guys are all the big treasure trove of information here. Yep, that's the one. Correct, Jim. Oh, look at this. I didn't know this. USA weathermen. Obama gave them guns to shoot bears and alligators. Well, that's one of those things. You kind of, I mean, if you're up in the middle of Alaska or something like that, and you run into a grizzly, like, I don't know, grizzly bears, like those are the ones you play dead with, and then the black bears. I've run into black bears here. Usually they're curious and they kind of look at you like, hmm? They're kind of cute actually, but I remember the first time I saw one. I was coming back from school and there was like I was on my motorcycle and it's like, oh, look at that. There's a mama bear and her cubs. Wait a minute. That's a mama bear and her cubs. I heard stories about them. Don't get in between the cubs and the mama bear. Do not do that. I know a guy, yeah, he lived out in the bush and he brought a gun with him in his truck to go to work and stuff like that because he lived out in the bush. One day there was yeah, there was some, like, the cubs went underneath his truck and then the mama bear was just shaking his truck and shaking his truck, and he was just waiting for her to stop, but he was worried about her like smashing the window and stuff. So he just he got his rifle and just boom right through the window and glass all over the place. But then he had this dead bear and he was going to be late for work. So he managed to get the bear in the back of the pickup truck and took it to work. There you go, Northern Ontario stories. And then he told the guy in the shop about that, and he's like, "Oh, we're talking bear stories." But yeah, so and I heard this from multiple people, so he didn't just make it up. And he was like, they brought the bear and they brought it in the lunchroom. So he got in there first before everybody got in there. So him and this other guy, they brought the bear into the lunchroom and kind of propped it up at one of the lunch tables, and then they're kind of hiding around the corner as everyone came into work. They see this bear in the lunchroom and freak out. They're like, "Oh, come here, we'll watch the next guys." And the shop got more and more and more guys looking around the corner, and then the foreman came in. He's like, "Get this damn thing out of here!" Like, okay. And they got and then they had to get rid of the bear. I don't know, somebody ate it, I guess. But I asked what happened with the cubs, and he said, "I don't know, man." So too bad. Yeah. So generally, black bears are pretty cool, though. They leave you alone. And grizzly bears, that's where it'd be good to have a 44 Magnum with you, something with a little stopping power. Okay. Oh, Dustin's got a doctor's appointment. Okay, good luck. What else we got here? Oh, assigning them guns came with mandatory training, creating a shortage of hollow point ammo for years. Oh, is that why all that hollow point ammo disappeared? Yeah. Huh, interesting. Well, you got to be safe. I remember years ago there was people were like debating what's the best bear gun. It was on this online forum there, and so it's like I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure in Canada you're not allowed to even have that. You used to be able to, or depending on where you are in Canada, what your job is, you can get because you can have if you're a security guard, you can get a handgun for your job and carry that around. So I think you can do that for Ministry of Environment and stuff. Or I've heard like helicopter bush pilots, they like to carry too. But I don't know. It seems like everybody liked the 357 Magnum. So I guess it was not as big and heavy as a 44. But there we go. And revolver too, because the revolvers don't jam. So they say. Okay. That's about it. Cool. And there we go. Corey's got it. Most powerful gun in the world. dirty Corey. So anyways, yeah, that's about it. Thanks for putting up with me and my planning. Maybe you learned something. Maybe I hope you're entertained. And yeah, so I will be back on Friday because I do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern. And we'll just kind of shut her down. And so thank you for watching. Bye.